For me, honestly, putting any amount of makeup on my face is too much. Excessive contouring, where girls literally look like they're changing the bone structure of their face. Like, that's talent, but like also that's not you.
I'm passionate of makeup because it allowed me to showcase to the world at a very young age the woman that I always was.
A lot of people think just because I wear makeup, I'm really stuck up and I feel like I'm the best at everything. We're just normal people that like to look good in person and just look good for everyone.
I think that the beauty industry really prioritizes Eurocentric beauty standards. Even in pursuit of trying to be beautiful and love myself or be loved by others, I will never fulfill those Eurocentric beauty standards.
I stopped wearing makeup either during my freshman year of college or my sophomore year of college. And I feel more like my authentic self when I'm not wearing it.
People say it's too much or try to say they're gonna wipe it off or, just judge you for wearing it, but maybe don't know why you do.
My mom expected me to just always look dolled up. That would be her idea of looking beautiful. I think that kind of turned me off a little bit from makeup, and I just like how I look naturally.
My name's Sabrina, and I'm from the Bay Area, and I can't wait to learn your guys' opinion about makeup.
My name is Chris and I'm so excited to talk with you guys about makeup.
I'm Lademi, and I'm excited to debate with you guys.
My name's Theo, and I'm excited to have this conversation with all of you guys.
Hi, my name's Bryn, and I'm just excited to hear some different perspectives.
Hi, my name is Alina, and none of my friends really wear makeup, so I'm excited to see what everyone thinks about it and where their opinions come from.
Women are oppressed by today's beauty standards.
Yeah, oppressed, that means women are oppressed.
It preys, or it being the beauty industry and the cosmetic industry, preys on the insecurities that women and men as well feel, for example, with aging. Wear this foundation, use these eye creams, do this, that, and the other things, so that way you don't look like you're aging. And I think that the aging process is a beautiful thing, and it should be celebrated, and it just shows like all of the life that you've lived, and our skin and our faces, they all tell a story. The way that I see it oppressing women and men alike is shaming them into thinking that they have to present themselves in a way that's deemed the ideal or the standard.
I think the sole fact that there is a beauty standard in general is just so damaging, because I just see beauty in a lot of people. There shouldn't be a standard for your natural self that you are.
I don't necessarily think beauty standards are oppressive, but I think sometimes they're unobtainable. So for example, like I've always struggled with acne scars, and I was like looking on social media and everybody's skin looks like so even and so clear. But then I learned that there are a lot of filters that will actually do that. Like I only discovered this 2 months ago, and then I used one and I was like, wait, now I look like everybody else. And I thought everybody just had like beautiful poreless skin, and I was the only one left out.
When you guys will post like your makeup look, do you guys use filters on them?
I've always been open with all my followers that I edit my pictures and Facetune them, just because it just gives them that extra like feeling to the picture, but not like enhance like nose or eyes or anything like that.
That's the same thing. I smooth the texture. Unless you see me in person, honey, you're not gonna see these scars or this texture or anything like that. I'm gonna filter it out. But sometimes filters are clearly, it's obvious that I'm using a filter. So I would hope that someone doesn't think that I look exactly like this, because it's clearly a filter.
If it's becoming too challenging being online, seeing, the different types of beauty that's all over the world, then maybe social media is not for you right now, because you're still discovering who you're meant to be. I used to be, had low self-esteem, so I was really crazy with the photoshopping and everything, and as I grew into myself, I just grew to love. But as far as filtering like my makeup looks or whatever, there's always going to be a little smooth here and there. Yeah. A woman's hair is full of secrets.
Yeah.
Smoothing!
Smoothing.
It does something.
Always need a little smooth here.
Yeah. I guess the reason why I asked that question is because in a lot of like makeup ads, they'll do the makeup look and then change the makeup look in Photoshop. But it just seems like it sets unrealistic expectations, A, for the product, and B, what it's gonna make you look like.
Makeup has changed how I'm treated by people.
Pre-COVID days, I love to go out to dance and stuff, to go to the club. Just men tend to just give me a lot more attention when I'm wearing makeup. And I don't know, it just doesn't feel good to me. And I swear, when I'm not wearing it, not a peep comes, no one comes my way. I think I like the latter. I like no one coming up to me, or they just come up to me just because they like my energy or something like that. But I've just gotten different treatment for wearing makeup, and it hasn't ended positively sometimes.
Since I am like all over social media and like TV and stuff, when people expect me to show up and show face, they expect to glam and they expect the makeup. And if I do show up without any of that, it's just like no one, it's like, where's the star? Where's the star power? Where's La Demi, you know?
I kind of feel the same way on social media. All I have on is makeup, and then on my normal days, I'm like just a regular boy. So when I go to like Sephora or makeup shopping, they're just like, oh, is he gonna steal something? Because you know, that's what they mostly think of when you're not like in full glam or you look bummy. Oh, he's gonna steal something because he's looking suspicious looking at the makeup products. But once I like go in with like a full face, they kind of leave me alone because I'm going back to that point where, oh, he knows what he's doing because he has a full glam.
I don't know if you've read about the attractiveness bias, but it's the idea that pretty people are like perceived as like more welcoming, more educated. So I've definitely gone into interviews or like heard my employer talk about people, and it's not that they'll say like, oh, she wasn't wearing makeup. They'll say like, she didn't seem as ready, or like she wasn't as put together. I used to only wear makeup pretty much for interviews or if I was on camera. I didn't want to give them a reason to not hire me.
I used to wear like a lot of makeup. I was never good at it, like, oh, you guys look amazing. I was never good at it, but I used to wear a lot, and then ultimately at some point the makeup comes off,
Yeah.
you know, and beneath that you're still you. It's not easy to accept that sometimes. In the moments that I was kind of transitioning to not really wearing anymore, I really didn't notice any difference in the way that people treated me. Maybe that's just because the people that I'm surrounded by are really accepting, and I know that that's not the case for everyone else.
I'm trying to love myself without makeup in kind of my default state, I guess. And makeup certainly makes me feel very like empowered and beautiful, but then I almost like resent myself more when I take it off. So I don't know like what that's been like for you.
I'm a confident person, so I can still go without and still feel raw.
It's definitely like a superpower. I always say makeup, because when I'm in makeup, I just feel like I have a cape on and I can do anything. And without it, it kind of humbles me down to maybe not be that person in the room to ask a question, or you know, it's kind of like my backup dancer.
Yeah, I agree with Latemi. When I have makeup, I just feel like I could conquer like the whole world, and I'm just like that person that can do anything. That's like the main reason why I go into makeup, because it just makes you feel good.
To a sense, wearing makeup, you kind of have to be confident. For someone that puts makeup on to feel good about themselves or whatever, but at the same time, you need to be confident because it's gonna attract that attention.
Right.
I don't know how I feel about that, to be honest, because I think like for a long time, like when I didn't wear makeup, I would be like, I feel so bad that people have to look at me. When I choose to wear makeup, it's not because I feel confident, but I'm almost like, can this make me feel confident? But objectively, I look better, like I look brighter, and so in the moment of being transformed physically, maybe emotionally, I can say like, let me go out into the world with more conviction. As much as makeup empowers me, I also want to be empowered in my authentic form as well.
I have felt uncomfortable leaving home without makeup.
I don't feel uncomfortable about leaving home without makeup now, but I think it took me a while to get to this point. There's still a part in my brain and my subconscious that's like, well, maybe just a little bit, maybe just a little something. Back in the day, it was more based on just insecurity that I wasn't good enough without any makeup. And now I think I've worked pretty hard to get to this point.
Sometimes for me, I do feel uncomfortable because, you know, I just want to have like nice skin like out in public, or like a full glam out in public. But sometimes I don't want to deal with like people just staring me down, or like little kids coming up to me and be like, why are you wearing makeup? That's for girls. So I just sometimes don't even go out with makeup that much.
when I started to wear makeup and I was, being perceived to the public as a woman. Without it, I wasn't, So it was like really hard to adjust to even leaving my house without a lash, without an eyebrow, without some kind of lip gloss or blush or something to give me that touch to feel like, I'm not going to get misgendered out there in the world. I am trans, and I definitely know what it feels like to not be able to leave the house without something to validate me as a woman to society.
I think the only time I used to regularly wear makeup is like if I thought I'd see my ex or something like that. But also when I was going on a lot of first dates before I met my girlfriend, it would pretty much be the only time I'd wear makeup. Like I wouldn't wear it to work and I would come home and put it on. But then I started to realize like these people, like if it goes further, they're going to see me without makeup, and I'd almost rather have them know that up front. And actually, the first date I went on with my girlfriend was like one of the first dates I didn't wear makeup because I just felt like I trusted her. I just knew that I could trust her.
So funny to bounce off of that. I went through a phase too where I would spend the night with a guy and I would not take off my makeup. I would sleep with my makeup, and even 10 minutes before waking up, I would run back to the restroom, touch up, put on a lip stain, so I would wake up
I used to, before we were boyfriend and girlfriend, I used to sleep in my makeup. It would be makeup all over this dude's pillow. So on Valentine's Day, he asked me to be his girlfriend, and I was like, I'm about to wash my face. I was like, I'm about to just take it all off and see what happens. And so I did that, and I'm still kind of trying to hide, but he saw me, and then after that, I'm just on FaceTime now, with the makeup, I'm just comfortable.
For me, it was kind of the opposite. When you're a gay guy trying to get a boyfriend out there, most of the guys don't want a guy that's wearing makeup. So I would hide everything about me, wearing makeup. When I was talking with my boyfriend at that time, I was trying to hide them, my pictures on Instagram. I would literally delete them so he won't know that I was wearing makeup or into makeup. But then once I told him, he was really accepting, and now he actually helps me film my YouTube videos. I asked him if it looked good, and he was like, oh my god, you look so bomb. And I'm like, yeah.
Altering your skin color is cultural appropriation.
Okay, right.
It's the act of blackfishing and all of that. Yeah. I don't understand why people are doing it. They're blaming it on, no, I'm darker in the summer, I'm blah, blah, blah. But it's just you're literally using, compared to your face, to your body, a whole different shade, different.
People's skin tones will change throughout the year depending on the weather and the amount of sun that they're in. But there's obviously a very sincere line. And when the issue of blackfishing comes into play, when people are presenting themselves as more ethnically ambiguous because it's trendy, that's not okay.
When I was in high school, it was a very white high school essentially, and I remember somebody wrote a note to me that was supposed to be nice, and they said, "You have that beautiful tan skin that I long for." And I was like, what is this white girl saying to me? And I didn't even know how to react because I think it was meant to be a compliment. My skin is not a commodity. My brownness is not up for you to take and claim as your own as you so please.
Let's say you're doing a shoot out in the the desert, and you're doing a warrior shoot. That's just an example. They're obviously gonna bronze you up and airbrush you and make you look more tanner because they're not gonna want you not look bronzy in the desert, because that just kind of doesn't make sense.
I always get spray tans to be, better looking on camera as to just looking tan. And, when you're tan, you feel sexier, you look slimmer. But I think there's definitely a fine line between looking tan and then taking it to extreme to you don't even look like your race,
But I remember there was also a brand that they made a model look significantly darker because they had been asked to be have more diversity, and instead of actually finding a darker skin model, they made a lighter skin person darker for this campaign.
A lot of the blackfishing examples that I've seen have been young girls. The intent for those girls comes back to the idea that they feel it's more like a psychological issue. I don't think their intent is, I want to appropriate you know, the skin color of a different race. I think it's just, man, for some reason right now in the media, the trend is to be darker skinned. I remember in the 2000s, the fair skinned, skinny girl look was in, and trends have just changed. So I believe girls have that idea that they just want to be that and be more accepted. If they do something wrong at all, in the media nowadays, the backlash is they do not forgive that person. I just don't think that the dialogue is healthy or helpful and progressive for all people of different races to be united.
I think there was some commentary from like Asians and Asian Americans about like the fox eye trend. Even I feel like the name, make the eye shape that a lot of like Asians have. I definitely have heard people kind of be offended by that because they've been made fun of or been called racial slurs for being like whatever Asian form of Asian or Asian American they are.
I had surgery obviously on my face, FFS, facial feminization surgery, and I used to have really masculine, sad hooded eyes. And they did that fox lift on me to open up my eye and give me more of a feminine touch. So for me, it was, a stepping into my womanhood. And also it comes along great with the whole beauty of, the winged eyeliner and all of that, so.
Last time some random person commented on my pictures, and when like editorial models just post like this and pulling like their sides, someone was like, oh, can you stop imitating an Asian person? And I was like, I'm just posing like a regular person, but like, enhancing like the brow, the fox eye.
I don't think a lot of people have the intent when they do the fox eye, like how you were saying lifting, your intent was not to offend or appropriate Asian culture. If anything, you were doing it because you found it to be beautiful.
Yeah.
I think in a way it's not for me to take a stance on, like I am Asian, but I mean, remember Asia is like a big continent. So like I'm South Asian, I'm Pakistani, and so nobody has ever made fun of my eyes, thankfully. But if I was East Asian, it would feel more hurtful. I don't necessarily know what the answer is if it's offensive, but if somebody from that culture says that they are harmed by it, that it hurts them, that it makes them feel lesser, then I feel like that should be respected.
There is no harm in children using makeup.
So the way that I interpreted this question was children doing their own makeup, not having it done by someone older or someone who's more experienced with it. I think that makeup within itself is a self-expression, and I feel that if a young boy or a young girl is drawn to that, then it should be supported and treated with like love and kindness and acceptance. I think it's totally fine.
If a kid has conscious parents, maybe conscious friends, mentors, teachers around them, and they're just playing with makeup and their intent is not simply to please others, I think it's completely fine. I've just noticed that doesn't tend to happen a lot of times in society.
I have 3 reasons why I disagree. The first one is, like I said, my mom putting the makeup on me as a child, and now you have this adult that feels like she has to be presentable all the time. That's a problem.
Yeah.
The second one is, causing acne. I don't even think that makeup causes acne, but if it's unnecessary and you don't know how to take care of your skin, then you can cause a problem. The third one is because of pervs out here. I wouldn't want my little sister wearing makeup so young, because I wouldn't want her to attract the wrong attention.
That was basically mine too.
Yeah.
I would be so upset if my sister was younger and drawing that kind of attention with lashes and making herself just look more of a sexual object online.
Kids can use makeup as an art form too.
Exactly.
So I wouldn't say to just not introduce it.
Is there a certain age that you guys think it's appropriate for them to start wearing makeup?
We'll say puberty.
Well, I went through puberty at 10. I wouldn't recommend it for me.
I think like at 15 or 16 is like a good age because you're like becoming that woman. I used to work at Ulta, so there would be like little girls just coming in looking for foundation, and they were like 7 or 6. It was so weird because their parents were like letting them, but I mean, that's her kid. I'm no one to
Right.
tell her not to do it or not.
Yeah, as a kid, makeup came into play. Obviously, I was a little boy at the time. I had a very strict stepfather got beat for everything. So my mom was just like my icon, you know? So she'd be doing her red lipstick and getting ready for work, and she would leave and I would run and I'd get in front of her vanity and like I'd put it all on, and then I would look at myself in the mirror and be like, I'm so everything. And then I would hear some footsteps coming down the hallway and I would book it to the restroom, and I was trying to scrub it all off. I was never able to do it, obviously, as a kid. I guess I'm making up for all that time lost because there's not a day that goes by that I'm not glam.
Obviously, there's a line to which, like, the degree to which someone's doing their makeup. With girls going to Ulta and stuff, buying, like, real, like, adult makeup. Is that a thing? I don't know. As opposed to, like, play makeup, like Barbie makeup, stuff like that. Like,
You have like a 6-year-old client for hair, and she has makeup palettes, like from the store, and she's 6. For a 6-year-old to have multiple, like, no.
And I feel like it's also more intense too, though, because like there's so many tutorials on YouTube of like how to do makeup. So these little girls are doing sickening makeup. Like, they are beat and powdered. And
It's
it
like,
makes
dang,
them
you
look
did
so
so
much
good,
older.
but
Yeah,
like,
take it off.
wear that in your room. Like,
You look sickening. Go wash it
yeah,
off.
you did so good. But
There is such a thing as too much makeup.
for me, honestly, putting any amount of makeup on my face is too much. But I know for all of you three, you guys enjoy it so much. And so what's too much to me is by no means too much to you guys. At the point where you start to not look like yourself, excessive contouring, where girls literally look like they're changing the bone structure of their face. Like, that's talent, but like also that's not you.
there's this girl on TikTok who is a bad influence. because
Is it the one with the pouring and pouring and
she
pouring?
pours foundation on her face, pours it, and then rubs it in. But her outcome is a
Sickening.
normal. Yeah, it's a normal outcome.
And I actually saw a TikTok of someone actually trying it, and she kind of washed off her face after and redid
Yeah.
her normal face.
But the everyday person is gonna go out and dump the foundation on, rub it in, and then go on about their day and look crazy.
I think it also plays into like being taken seriously. Like if you're going for a job interview or anything, like
That
someone,
part too.
like sometimes you need to step in and be like, "Hey sis, you're doing your thing, but that's too much.
Yeah.
Like it's way out of line."
Like, I'm a soccer trainer, so when I had my interview, they told me to show up in soccer clothes because I had to like run through some drills and stuff. If I looked like any of you guys, I'd be like, what are you doing? Like, but obviously, like if you guys are applying to work at like Sephora or Ulta, like they want to see you know how to do this.
Every person has the agency to decide what is too much or not enough. When I'm wearing a full face of makeup, I never wear foundation, I only wear concealer, but like 10 years ago when I thought I had to wear more makeup, like a foundation was like my full face. I think it's okay if it's kind of a moving needle for what you prefer as too much or not enough, and people can give you their opinion, but it's ultimately your choice to make.
People have their own reasons for wearing too much. Some people do it to troll, you know, like probably that girl that you were mentioning on TikTok just pouring on foundation. She's probably doing it just to be a troll and just to be funny, and that can be funny. I probably wouldn't think it looks good, but I don't think it's too much makeup if it sits right with them and they're doing it to get their laughs out or it actually feels good to them. Hey, you know, wear all the makeup in the world, you know?
I think we're triggered because we're artists in our craft and it's
Right.
our job.
Yeah.
You know, if you're wearing makeup, we're gonna critique it.
Yeah.
We're gonna look at it.
Yeah.
We're gonna look at it and we're gonna look at what we would have done differently. And so when we see other people doing this, it's like, oh no, that's too much.
How would you respond, or how have you responded when people give you feedback about your makeup? Like, oh, it's too much, or like, this is too extra, or something like that?
I just tell them to go fuck themselves.
No, seriously, I have 2 sets of siblings. A group that wears makeup and a group that completely doesn't. I get harassed by the one that doesn't all the time. My brothers, they tell me I wear too much. My sister, she's like, you got on all that makeup. Even down to now, my nieces and nephews comment on it. We're like, why does it matter to you guys? Like, what are we doing to you?
Yeah, I feel like mostly it's people that don't wear makeup that are like, oh my God, you're wearing too much makeup, or just have something to find to fix.
For someone to sit there and, you know, basically say like they're against makeup and they don't have to wear makeup because they're just naturally, you know, gorge or whatever. it's actually a blessing in disguise for them, because out there in the world, there's, you know, people that have their face burned. There's people that have scars. There's people that have blemishes and all kinds of crazy things, and they don't have a choice. Maybe if they don't want to wear makeup, but they have to put makeup on to be presented and accepted by society.
Even with skincare, if I went to that side of the argument, it's a lot of privilege to have the knowledge to do skincare, to have the money and resources to do that.
I used to have, and I still have, like really painful hormonal cystic acne, and I've spent probably thousands of dollars on like laser treatment, like scarring, IPL, and my mom is in that business, so I'm able to like get it at a discounted rate, but literally like thousands of dollars, hours like driving, and I don't even have a car, taking a bus down to where she lives. I was asking her like, when will those treatments end? And she was like, maybe never, like maybe for the rest of your life, if you want your skin to be clear. Like, this is what it takes. And not everybody can access that or even wants to.
Yeah.
Elbows.